So you're thinking of moving to Fort Worth, but you got a lot to think about. Everything from safety and schools to finding the right place to live, and it can all be very overwhelming.
That's right, because Fort Worth, the area is absolutely massive. So in this video, we're going to take you around the map today, show you some of the hottest spots, the places that you might want to consider, the places you probably don't want to be in. So by the end of this video, you could roll out 90% of the area and decide where you want to call home.
First off, if you're thinking of moving to Fort Worth, you've already made the right decision. We've got super friendly people, the food is amazing, so many things to do, and some really unique communities.
That's right, and Jack and myself have lived here basically our entire lives. We know the area like the back of our hand, and guys, that's super important because if you are moving somewhere new, you want somebody that knows all the little things that nobody else is going to tell you, because if you don't, sometimes you end up making a big mistake, which we've got a story for you a little bit later on that.
So we're about to show you guys everything you need to know, but before we do that, let's get our bearings real quick. So if you take a look at the map here, you can see Fort Worth's over here, Dallas is over here, so that way you kind of have a frame of reference of where everything is. One more notable landmark, because I know this is going to be important for you guys, is right there where it says Spur 97. That's where the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport is, one of the biggest in the U.S.
Yeah, and so just to give you an idea, like if you're driving from downtown Fort Worth to downtown Dallas, about 30 minutes. But if you're on the outskirts of one or the other, a lot longer. But the nice thing is with our highway system, everything's pretty close. But speaking of highway systems, you're going to see on the Fort Worth side, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. There's a loop that goes around Fort Worth. Now, most people, when they move here, if they've got a family, they don't move inside the loop. So we're going to be focusing today basically mostly outside of that loop. And the main reason for this is schools. So the school system in Fort Worth is not the best, unfortunately. So there are a few exceptions. And the other thing that you're going to find is like most of what's in the loop in Fort Worth is old. Like we've had people describe it this way, right? There's not a whole lot of new construction going on, and people like new shiny stuff, right? But I will say there are some really cool, like we talked about earlier, there are all kinds of cool communities, different types of living, and one of the things that you can get in the Fort Worth area is like the downtown living or even like that walkable living. I had a buddy that lived in the area, and he absolutely loved it. He was a cop, and when he got home from work, obviously you're driving a lot as a cop, right?
Right.
He got home from work. It's just like there's something peaceful about not having to get back in a car for the rest of the day,
yeah,
right?
After you get off work.
Yeah, so you can walk get your groceries, you can walk and meet up with friends, all of that kind of stuff. And so like that type of stuff we absolutely have. We can help you with it. But in this particular video, we're going to be focusing more so on the families on the outskirts. So
we're starting off with Aledo. It's just to the west of Fort Worth, and it's only a short drive to Lockheed Martin and downtown. So a lot of people who are looking for schools and safety end up moving here because it has plenty of both. And on top of that, they've got really big affordable houses.
Yeah, what's crazy, like, so Aledo used to be known as like this rural place, but in the last, 10 years, there are some master plan communities here that are just incredible as far as amenities go. And I think that's a really important thing, like especially if you're moving somewhere new, like trying to meet people is sometimes difficult, but if they have a ton of amenities, if you get out, you're going to find people with like interests, right? So I think a lot of people move to this area for that. And also, like you mentioned, the proximity. Now, I will say there's not a lot of shopping in Aledo itself, but like Jack mentioned, you're 15 to 20 minutes from like downtown shopping, all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, one of these neighborhoods has like it had more amenities. Like when I heard of amenities, I was like, you can do that? Like zip lines? That's a thing that you could put in a community. Maker spaces, swimming pools, lap pools, separate kid pools and adult pools, gyms, like just nuts. And that's another thing. The one in particular I'm thinking of has fiber, right? So like if that's something, if you work from home and you need a fast internet connection, I think how fast is the fiber?
I'm pretty sure they're 2 gigabit up there.
Yeah, it's standard, right?
Yeah.
So like we have a lot of people that move out there for that. And if that's something you're interested in, give us a shout because we know we're all the highest, like if you need some fast internet, we can tell you where to get it. But the crazy thing about it is like there are these are big family homes and they're nice. Like they're really nice. There's not I don't know what you call it, like a production builder in these neighborhoods, or not like a, what am I, like a minimalist. Like you're not going to just square boxes, right? These are really thoughtful homes. But the other thing that's crazy about it too is even if you don't have a family or you've got somebody else moving here, there's also a lot of great options as well. I had a client that did not want, he had a big yard. He had maintained this house for years, and he wanted to find somewhere where it's like, hey, I don't want to do yard work. I don't want to have to mess with all of that. I want to, take my dog for a walk and just enjoy life, be able to travel. And so like even that kind of stuff exists because the HOA, there's different types of houses, but like the particular type of house that he bought, the HOA maintains the front lawn. He put some turf in the back, bada bing, bada boom. You don't have to worry about it, right? Mm-hmm. And so like, again, if that's something you're looking for, you're like, hey, I want to move, but I have this thing where I don't want to do yard work or I don't want to do this or that. That's why you call us. We know all the spots, but that's just one neighborhood in Aledo. There's lots of other ones, right?
So Aleto's really attractive for the family aspect as well, because like while there's a ton of things to do in a lot of these neighborhoods, everyone's worried more about like schools. It's always schools. Everyone wants a good rated school, and Aledo has one of the best in the DFW Metroplex. And on top of that, if you know anything about Texas, we're really big on our football, especially high school football. We had a couple clients where their son actually was high schooler, was really into football, and they were coming in from California. I don't know much about California football, but this kid was passionate, so they had to be in the best school district for it, and Aledo definitely fit the bill. I think
it was between that and one other, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, right?
We'll talk about that as well, but whenever we got there, it was a little bit difficult because these guys, they needed a really big house. That was very important to them.
Everything's bigger in Texas, right? You want to get that bigger house.
It's definitely the way to go, and given their price point, they had to search a lot, and they probably wouldn't have found this place without us because the developer honestly wasn't doing any marketing on this neighborhood. So whenever we found it, they're like, this is the one, this is the place. They ended up getting this massive house. They got a lot of bang for their buck, and their kid is literally a short walk to the high school. You could probably see it from their backyard.
Yeah, and that's again, that's one of the reasons you call us. We love talking to you and schedule 15-minute call with us. We're going to figure all this out for you. But, and not only that, but also in Aledo, they do have, this is the other thing. If like, not only do you want big houses, you want space, right? That's what a lot of people talk about when they move here. And Aledo has a ton of, acre to 2 acre communities as well. And so like, if that's something you're looking for, and it's fairly affordable, like, and I can't imagine what this kind of stuff would cost in California, but here, like you're starting in probably the $600,000 to $700,000 range for a 3,000 plus square foot house on an acre. So, like that's the type of stuff you can get. And as far as these other communities go that we talked about, they start, for like townhomes or something smaller, probably in the 400s. But most of your family size homes are going to be between 500 and 700,000. Is that fair? And then there's like, I mean, you can spend as much as you want because there's luxury homes in these communities that are well over $1 million. So it just depends on what you're looking for, but can't go wrong out there, I guess, is the long and short of it. So
now, if you want to be where everything's happening, you go here. Where's here? This is the Alliance Gateway. It's just north of Fort Worth, sandwiched between Fort Worth and Hazlitt. There's a ton going on here and a ton of great communities as well. We've got medical districts, all these really cool shoppings, Texas Motor Speedway if you're a race fan, so you're not going to be wanting for stuff.
But one of the big things, I guess, that has made this area popular is the Alliance Airport, right? Mm-hmm. So this is like the biggest commercial hub. I think Facebook has a data center up there. So there's a ton of growth that's happening here. And there's got to be like a dozen new home communities.
Yeah, some massive communities. Some of these have like 2,000 plus houses, really cool amenities, very integrated too, so really nice sense of community.
Yeah, and so the crazy thing, like if you are looking in this area, definitely call us because what you're going to find out is that in most of these communities, these are going to be more economical. A lot of them are going to start in the 300s and go up to around the 6s. And so like there's not as many neighborhoods with a bunch of bells and whistles, right? But the thing that you got to realize, like number one, traffic is going to be an issue depending on where you buy. Not only that, but the tax rates are all different. So here in Texas, we have property taxes, and the rates could be as much as like 0.5%, which when you're talking about buying a house, I mean that could be $200 a month in your payment. HOAs are all different. So, anyways, rather than trying to figure this all out, give us a call because we can help you navigate all of this. But yeah, there's a ton of different communities throughout here and a ton of shopping, right? So if you've got a wife or something that's like, I don't know about Texas, but she loves to shop, you just take her to the shopping center first. You guys go enjoy a little bit, and she'll be like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah, it's really pretty. Actually, my girlfriend's sister lives up there right off of the 114. She's got a nice little house in one of the more prominent communities in the area. It's right across from this giant shopping center. It's gorgeous. And the thing is, I thought this was interesting. She lives in Fort Worth, but she works in Dallas, and she said that it's not that bad of a drive apparently. So the 114 actually just goes straight across. So if you're thinking of moving to Dallas, but you don't want to deal with all the Dallas, busyness, it's also a good option to live in the North Fort Worth area.
Yeah, and speaking of that, going even further north, and this is the crazy thing, like up here in North Lake and Argyle, this is also, and I guess we should back up, the Alliance area, there's a couple different school districts there that are A-rated, right? So again, as we take you through this today, like these are all schools and safety at the top of the list, right? All of the areas that we're talking about are going to be good. But North Lake and Argyle up here, that was the other thing. It's like you're super close. Like you're 25 minutes to the DFW airport. Even though on the map, when I zoom out here, like it looks like, so this is Argyle, North Lake's right next to it. It looks like you would be forever away from the airport, but you're actually not. And so there's people that will live here and commute to Dallas. A lot of people that are in IT, that kind of thing. It's a good spot, and the schools are fantastic as well. So I guess apart from that, what's the other draw?
The big draw to the North Lake area is they're putting in some really nice communities. So they've got some developers that have probably more money than they need to be handling to put these things together, but they're putting it to really good use. We've got nothing but glowing reviews from people that have moved to this area, and actually a really cool story about a couple that moved there fairly recently too.
A little sad but cool at the same time.
It starts off a little sad. So these guys, they made the mistake of not working with a real estate agent, which, I mean, some people can pull it off, but it's just an unnecessary increased risk. These guys, they bought not too long ago with a builder in South Fort Worth down in Crowley, and they just needed somewhere, 4 walls and a door, but they didn't realize how bad the school district was where they had bought, and they had a young girl that was about to be going into elementary school. It was very important to them. They're immigrant people that had moved to America, and they wanted to get her the best education. So whenever it came time for her to start school, they're like, we have to get her into a better school district. And North Lake seemed to fit the bill. Phenomenal A+ rated on niche.com school district. And they had a brand new elementary school going into this community that they wanted to live in. So we fought tooth and nail to help them sell this house that they bought. But since they bought in just such a weird area, there was new homes going up around them that were deflating the price of their house basically on the market. It was a slog to sell this thing. We even worked a deal out with the buyers. So like, we were cutting every corner we can to get this thing sold.
And then they had to move into a rental.
They did.
While a house was being built.
Just so they could make the school year, because the school year was coming up and everything. Yeah. And if you don't know, if you're not a resident of a certain school district, by the time the school year starts, then your kid isn't going to be going to school at that school that year. And so we did everything we can to make these guys' dream happen. And eventually we were able to get the house sold. They were able to get their kid into school. And then they eventually ended up getting a really nice house with reputable builder. Like they're right up the street. They can basically walk to the school as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's a beautiful community as well.
Yeah. So like, that's the downside. Like if you make a mistake here, which we're not going to let you do. But again, that's why you give us a call. And yeah, this community, like, we talked about Aledo earlier, like this particular community is like, I don't know, it seems special. Like they have done such a good job of doing community events and bringing people together. Like we've been there multiple times where we're just like, this is crazy how many people are out here hanging out, having a good time.
Yeah, I always love going up to that area.
Yeah, kids on the playground anyways. Now, another thing is like, they've got a couple of communities like this up there, and there's about to be a new one that's going to drop. And so if you want to know about that, they're going to start selling this year in 2025. So if you're interested, definitely subscribe to the channel, because as soon as it's open, we're going to be there showing you guys around. But anyways, if you want to be the first to know about those things, then definitely hit us up. That's why you work with us. But all right, moving around, should we give a quick mention to, I know this wasn't on our list today, but the South Lake area?
Yeah, definitely. So I think South Lake is best described. I think you've mentioned it before. It's almost like being on the Truman Show. It's very clean, like
Yeah.
almost too clean, but in a good way. There's a lot of C-level executives by in this area.
I'm sorry, we didn't talk about price points up in the North Lake.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the North Lake Argyle area, you're probably going to be set back about 600,000 on average. It could fluctuate a little bit, maybe 100,000 in each direction.
Yeah, you might be able to find a smaller house in the high fours, but yeah, for the most part. Cool. All right, sorry.
Yeah, you're
Back
good.
to South Lake.
So South Lake, first of all, no shade on South Lake. It's a really nice area, very exclusive area if that's the kind of thing you're looking for. And there's a lot of money in this area. So you get C-level executives, you get like top-level chefs, some medical professionals, lawyers, and things like that. And then Keller's a lot more of the same, and Colleyville as well. Westlake is also really cool as well, but it's a different feel. It's a little bit more secluded right there next to Grapevine Lake.
And you're going to notice like all the innovative naming of these cities, right?
Yeah.
We have a lake, and there's a city to the west called Westlake, a city to the south called South Lake, and one to the northwest, really, North Lake, right?
Also, if you didn't know this, Post Malone's from Grapevine, so what's up?
But yeah, anyways, this area, like, there are some new homes, but again, this is in the center of the Metroplex, so a lot of it's been built out. If you're looking at South Lake, $800,000 minimum to get in here, and they have really big houses, so more than likely you're going to be in the $1 million range. Colleyville is the same way. Color is a little less expensive, right? But all phenomenal schools, can't go wrong. Making our way around, we got to talk about Arlington. Mm-hmm. It is the home of the Texas Rangers, the Dallas Cowboys. There's a lot going on in Arlington, and this is great if you are like somebody that likes going to sporting events, that likes going to stuff like comedy shows in Dallas or musicals in Fort Worth or the opera in Fort Worth. Like, there's so many different things to do that Dallas Fort Worth has to offer, and if you're somebody that likes to get out and go do those things, like being central, you can't beat this, right? Now, the downside is, again, most everywhere in Arlington is built out, and some areas of Arlington not so good as others, and the schools are not that great, but there is an exception to the north. So there's a beautiful master plan community that is, or golf cart community, some people will call them, that's being built out, and they're getting towards the end of it. So it's like kind of your last chance if you want new. Now there's always pre-existing homes coming up for sale, but like this place has like this massive lake. It's so big that you can actually have a sailboat on it, and they've got like a little boating club there. They've got volleyball. They've got a beach. They've got pools. They're about to open up a new pool. Like, they're just like, hey, let's build another one.
Why not?
Yeah, there's an island out there, and again, you're gonna see, like, if you're driving in, just massive like $1 million homes. They're absolutely beautiful, but then they got a little bit of everything. And I've got friends that live there that absolutely love it. They get involved in the events. They go to the pool in the summer.
The homes there are beautiful. I'm honestly a huge fan of the architecture.
Yeah, they've done a really good job. And of course, great schools. They've got an elementary on site. And the other thing, I was talking to this lady the other day. She lives there, loves it. Finally started getting involved in the community. She's like, people are like, who are you? Like, where have you been? Like, come on in, which is great. And then, but she's got a mom that lives on the south side of Arlington, and she's like, my mom doesn't get out. She doesn't do a whole lot. Well, the nice thing is she's trying to convince her to move to this neighborhood as well, because they have a 55 plus community there. So there's a lot of times like people are moving here and they're like, hey, we're moving, but so are our kids, or the kids call us and they're like, our parents are thinking about moving here too. Well, a neighborhood like this could be like the best of both worlds, because maybe your parents live 5 minutes away, but they have their own group, they have their own activities. They've got their own event center within this community, right? So, but they're still close enough if you need them to babysit, so you can go to a Mavs game. They're there, right?
Hey, mom and dad, you mind watching the kids?
Yeah, they're like, too sauced up on the wine right now. Sorry, yeah, no. But yeah, there's again multiple communities like this throughout the Metroplex, and that's again why you call us, because we know where they're all at. We can help you find the right one. But yeah, that's a really cool spot in Arlington now.
Arlington is a little dense, though. It's in the middle of the city, as you can tell. So if you're looking for a little bit more land, which I know a lot of people moving to Texas are, this is definitely the place you want to be. So these two right here, Mansfield and Midlothian, are probably the final frontier for like this amount of land this close to the city.
Yeah, we were just in a neighborhood a couple weeks ago, and the great thing is like what you're gonna find is like lot sizes vary. So a lot of people talk about lot sizes when you're looking at new builds, and so what's crazy is like on the Dallas side of the Metroplex, a lot of your lots are 40 foot. That means and typically whatever your lot size is, subtract 10 feet from that, and that's how wide your house is, right? So you have a 30-foot wide house. Like we've seen them as skinny as like 24 feet
Yikes.
the other day.
That was crazy.
Yeah. Oh, even
you guys have to watch that video.
Yeah. There's some crazy skinny houses, right? And so it's just like it doesn't feel right. Being from Texas, I was like, this isn't right. But in Mansfield, like this whole entire neighborhood, they were all 60-foot plus lots, which is nice because especially once things get built out, like if you're in a neighborhood that's 50-foot lots, a lot of times what happens is it feels cramped because there's nowhere to park on the street because the curbs are so small, and then it just seems like really cluttered. I don't know what it is from going from 50 to 60, but there's something about it.
It helps a lot. Yeah.
It does, yeah. So I think that makes a big difference. And like you mentioned, there is a ton of neighborhoods here, a ton of new construction neighborhoods where you're going to find that kind of thing.
Yeah, Mansfield's really cool because there's a lot of commercial development that's been going into this area because, you know, people usually follow their jobs. If they're moving to a neighborhood, it's probably because they've got work in the area, and Mansfield has just been throwing all kinds of money at their commercial development with Tyler Perry's Super Studio that's been going in there, as well as a lot of the sports complexes and the distribution centers.
There's also a lot of medical there, a lot
True.
of hospitals, and
that's been bringing a lot of these these really cool communities to the area. Some of which have things like these giant lagoons and these amazing amenity centers. We've got. I really like the architecture that they're putting in there as well because I feel like since they have the money to throw around in this area, they're putting a lot more flair into their houses. So you're getting really pretty ones as well. And we actually had a client. It was actually one of your clients that came
we
here.
both helped.
Yeah, I mean, I helped him out every night. It was your client, but he was moving here from England, and I think he was actually from London, like so a very very dense
which was
city.
kind of crazy because there's a lot of like nuances that go in from moving to another country, like just like establishing credit and things like that we helped
things
them
you
with.
would never imagine.
Yeah, so that in itself, you know, it was fun for us because like we learned a lot. But now it's like, okay, well, now we have this knowledge for the next person coming.
Right, because, you know, we get a ton of people moving from England. But if it ever happens again, we got him. And he, you know, having moved from a dense city, he obviously wanted a lot more space. He had a kid with them, and they wanted
kids.
Yeah, he had a couple kids, and he wanted a big backyard was like a must for him. And we started off looking at some of these older houses because he like the yard was like the only thing. And the more houses he looked at, the more and more he's like, well, I don't want to pay this much just for this house.
The value wasn't there, right?
Yeah, he very much wanted to get his money's worth, and like everyone does. So it was like the yard thing was still very important to him, but he started having a more keen eye for the houses he was looking at. And I don't think he would have found this place if we weren't looking for it. But we ran across Mansfield, and at first he's like, "I've never heard of Mansfield. You know, what about it?" So we start talking about it, looking at these houses, and he starts to slowly fall in love with this place. And he finds that he worked in pharmacy, so there was a lot of like-minded people there, a lot of people in his industry, and he started clicking with the community. And then he's like, "This is where we need to go."
Yeah.
We ended up finding him a house, like this really cool big house too, like this big 2-story house, and it had an extra large lot. Even for the neighborhood, it was extra large. So it was like everything you wanted, then some. But the biggest thing for him was that every dollar looked like it was going somewhere important. It looked like he was definitely getting his money's worth.
Yeah, absolutely. And if this sounds like you, give us a call. We'd love to help you. And the other thing that's nice about this location as well is like you can kind of see the highway system here. There's a highway that goes up to downtown Fort Worth. There's another one that shoots up into Arlington. And then a little bit further south, like it heads over to Dallas, like that's closer to Midlothian. And Midlothian is going to be more rural, right? So like Mansfield, there's a ton of new construction going on. Most of your bigger family homes you're going to find are going to be like probably from 500 to 650. And so like Midlothian, you might find it a little bit cheaper, but you are just going to be, I mean, you're talking about, it's probably 10 minutes further.
Yeah, if that.
Yeah, so depending on what you're doing, that might be a really good fit. And yeah, so these areas are blowing up, and the Mansfield they're so pro business that like I'm looking at Mansfield as being like kind of like a mini Frisco or a mini like just hub as far as that goes in the next 10 years probably.
Yeah.
So anyways, can't go wrong with that. And then also, I know we haven't talked about shopping a whole lot, but Mansfield has a lot of shopping. And on the south side of Arlington, they've got the Arlington Highlands. So, like, again, all of these areas that we're talking about, even North Lake has their own shopping center. So you're never more than like 15, maybe 20 minutes, like depending on where you live in all the areas that we've talked about. But we're going to talk about one where that's the exception. And this is like if you want to have more of that rural lifestyle, or if you just want way more bang for your buck, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, it's Joshua and Godley. Now, these two are a little bit outside of the city, and for some people, they may turn their nose up to that. But for others, this is exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, so we're down here on the map, and this looks like forever away from Fort Worth, but it's not. Most communities here, you're 30 minutes from downtown.
Right.
So
you see, we got these two main roads. They shoot straight up into the center of Fort Worth. So even though you're pretty far removed as it looks on the map, you're not very far away as far as driving goes, which makes it perfect.
Yeah. And the other thing I forgot to mention, like, one of the things that a lot of people ask us about is gas. Like they want gas in their house. This is something our client wanted in Mansfield, right?
Right.
And not all communities have that. So if that's something that is important to you, if you let us know, like we can send you, hey, here are all the communities, here are the homes you need to be looking at.
Yeah.
We got you guys.
Which I think is crazy because if you go on Zillow and you're looking for new houses, you can obviously set filters for bedrooms and bathrooms and how much it costs and maybe a location. But they don't have an option for like amenities. So you're not like, oh, I want houses with gas or 3-car garage or anything like that. So you're just kind of out.
Ratings
you got to be scrolling through like 10,000 houses to find the ones you like.
Yeah. God, it's so annoying. But the other thing about Godley, so one of my favorite builders is down in Godley. And the reason, like, and there's a lot of good builders. Like, hey, we're biased, right? We walk new homes all the time. There's certain ones where like, man, we really like what they do. Or
ones where we're not going to name their names.
Or there's other ones where we're like, you walk a house at framing stage and you're like, God, these guys are doing everything right. It's just so refreshing to see because it's unusual,
right?
Unfortunately. But yeah, this one of the builders that's in Godley. Like I remember walking into this house that they built, and I walked in and immediately there's like I guess it was like a dining room setup. It was an open concept, but I was like, wow. And then I looked to the right and it's like this accent wall. And I was like, wow. And then I look at the kitchen. I'm like, holy cow. Like everywhere I looked in this house, it was just like, wow, and that's what I've come to love because the husband is the builder. The wife is the interior designer, and they're always pushing the envelope. And there's not a ton of builders that are like that. And like a lot of these cases, you just get these big production homes or whatever. So like if you're looking for something that's like, hey, and the crazy thing is the prices are way lower out here, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's the thing. If you're somebody that's like, hey, I just really want a house I'm going to enjoy because maybe you work from home or you're retired or semi-retired, whatever it is, or you just really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Then we got you. Again, give us a call. But yeah, that's, I think, a big reason why a lot of people move here. And Godley, Joshua, very rural. Not much out there, right?
Yeah, and some people like that. That's probably why you're moving to those areas.
Yeah, but they also have like master plan communities as well with a bunch of amenities. So like if that's the case, we got you covered too. But yeah, as far as bang for the buck, can't go wrong there. Honorable mention, Granbury, great retirement. Like I know we didn't really talk about this a whole lot. This is more about families and whatnot. But if you are looking at retiring, tons of golf courses. They got a lake. There's just a ton to do there. So
yeah, and it's just beautiful in general.
Yeah, figured we'd mention that. But if you are interested in any of these areas, obviously give us a call. We're gonna show you a link here on the screen. We got a ton of resources for you, including setting up a search. So if you want to do that, you can go ahead and do that. But after this, we're gonna have a playlist up on the screen of some of the most popular communities that we mentioned in this video. So that might be a good next spot for you. But
Yeah, and I'm sure you wanted us to answer a bunch of questions in this video, but you probably now have more questions than you do answers at this point. And if that's the case, we actually have a live Q&A that we're going to be hosting, and we're going to have a QR code here up on the screen, so you guys can sign up for that if you're interested. It should be a pretty easy way to break the ice, get to meet us, to hopefully answer some of those cursory questions you may have without all the commitment and paperwork signing you usually get.
Yeah, and if you're watching on a mobile device, check in the description of the video. We got links for everything. But that's it for this video. As always, thanks for watching. And if you're looking to buy or sell, remember to keep calm. Call Tom.